The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for attending today. I apologize for our couple of minute late start. Those of you who use technology know that on occasion things happen. So we've had a minor glitch. Hopefully it's over. I really want to welcome you today to this wonderful webinar that Core Cubed is presenting. We do these usually around once a month because we feel like one of the things that is so helpful to the senior care industry and the aging care industry is for people to really get a better understanding of how they can present themselves and what are the best things to do in marketing. So today's webinar, we have three of us. Hopefully, right now there's two. Hopefully we'll have a third joining us in just a moment. But my name is Marilee Orsini, and I work with Core Cubed, but I've been in the home care industry for a long time now. Actually, it's been 34 years. I've really made this my life's passion. I am very involved in what's happening in the future of home care right now and thrilled to be involved in working towards making home care something that is an affordable and easy way for people to have care if they would like to do that. But Core Cubed is the business that I founded and run, although now I have two managing directors that really have taken over the day-to-day operations in the heart of the business, allowing me to more expand what I really like to do. And one who has joined us today is Amy Selly, and she is managing director of Core Cubed. But Amy came to us this year. She was a client. She was working as director of marketing for Cantata, and Cantata is a Core Cubed client. We do marketing services for them, and as director of marketing for Cantata, we were interfacing with Amy, and she was so knowledgeable and had been in aging care marketing and has just such a wonderful background and is an award winner, has just a lot of skills that she brings to the table. So when we were looking for someone to join our team, we were so thrilled that Amy joined us. So Amy, welcome to Core Cubed. And
thank you.
And welcome to our webinar today. Marissa Snook, are you with us? Were you able to log on? Oh, fabulous. Sorry for that glitch. Marissa Snook we have here, she's most program administrator, which she is, but she also joins Amy as co-managing, being the managing director of Core Cubed. But her special niche within Core Cubed is our most program. We're not going to talk about that very much today, but it's really a turnkey marketing program for home care. And a lot of the things that we propose that a home health care agency or a home care agency or a hospice agency does, a lot of the things that we recommend are available through that program that Marissa implements. But both of these women are very accomplished, astute marketers and both truly know the aging care services and also the in-home care industry. So we decided to talk today about the 3 R's, and this came from the private duty benchmarking study that Home Care Pulse does. And if you all have not seen that, I believe there are a few copies still left. It really does allow an agency to benchmark themselves against other agencies and to get some really good information. But the thing that came out of this last study was the number one reason that people select a home care agency, and that is reputation. So that's really what made us start thinking about, what is a reputation in home care and how do you have a good reputation? And then the other 2 R's, and those of you who are in home care know that the second big R, and this should be your number one source of referrals, and that's your current customers, their family and friends. And we'll talk about that as well in just a moment. And that third R is really referrals from professionals, because a professional referral that comes into your agency is really your key to expanding the agency's reach, is growing that base of referral sources so that when a care need presents to them, that they're going to think of you when they do have a care need. So I wanted to first talk about reputation and the information that we have decided and discussed about reputation and what it really is, because in marketing we might say that reputation is branding, but it's really a whole lot more than that. It's really your unique story. It's really how you deliver the services. It's really how well your processes you have implemented to run your agency work for the customer, and everything is tied into reputation. And it's really built one interaction at a time, and we'll talk about customer service and responsiveness in a minute. But it's also other things in home care. It's consistency in staffing. It is the quality of the caregivers that you send in the home, which really goes back into the quality of caregivers that you are selecting and how you train them and how you communicate with them and how they feel about the agency. But it also flows into billing. It's every single touch point that the customer, whether that customer is the client himself or herself, whether the customer turns out to be the person you're interacting with. It might be a family member or a trusted advisor or a professional that is working with the client. So that your reputation really is built in a whole lot of different ways, not just one way. So we really do want to talk about that today. So the branding component of the reputation, I'll talk a little more about branding later, but your reputation can be reinforced by branding. And quality, and those of you who have heard us talk or actually listen to any of the consultants in the industry talk lately, quality emerges as the number one thing that it absolutely is going to have to be present in order for the agencies to make it into the future. And you can showcase quality through your branding or not. And so that brings branding back into the equation. But how you are different, how your agency handles the situations that they're presented with, how they do that differently than others, who composes your agency. There may be different reasons that create your unique story, but that unique story and that differentiation and what you and your agency bring to the table that's going to help someone select you, that also is reflected in branding, but it also is a component of your reputation. Obtaining referrals is primarily getting them from customers and from family and friends. Those really only come, and why? Because you're providing a quality service and that people see an added value in the services that you provide. I know when I've done consulting with different models of care that are not being paid for directly by the consumer, this is something that quality component and the idea that you really are providing a retail service to your customer and that they would not be purchasing home care from you if they didn't have a need. So you have to deliver value, but that value also has to be quality. So it really is inherent in everything, excuse me, and in the ability for people to even think about referring you. You want service, in a nutshell, so good that your clients become evangelists for your business, not just neutral or casual referrals. You want service so good that when someone, a friend or a family member, interfaces with someone who has a care need, they say, oh, you really have to use this agency because they have taken such excellent care of me or of my mother or my spouse or my child. So your goal is really to try to make customer evangelists. And that's also going to help with your reputation because that is probably why they say that's that number one reason. Now, when we talk about referrals, getting referrals from other professionals, and we do have a list about that covers the variety of professionals from which you could get referrals, and it certainly is unlimited, particularly if you're in private duty. You can pretty much try to get a referral from anyone who knows anyone with a care need. And if you're positioned correctly, if your reputation is allows you to be considered a quality service provider, then you have the more potential to get referrals. But one of the reasons that people refer, professionals refer, is that if you understand what is in the best interest of the client, and if you serve as an advisor, so when someone comes to you not just trying to sell them home care, but advising them on what is the best path to take, given their family resources, the financial resources that they have, the support services in place. So if you can work towards having the professional referral sources recognize you as an expert in solving people's questions about care, and also they know that if home care is appropriate, that you will help them with the best way to accomplish it. So obtaining referrals from professionals is a little harder to do, but it really all ties in together, and it's all based on reputation, and it's all based on how you are going to market with your unique differentiation. And the overall...
Jump in there a second, Marilee. I
Sure.
just wanted to talk a little bit more about the advisor aspect and how you can get referrals through that. Everyone is going into those referrals handing out agency brochures that talk about their services. But if you are developing a relationship with that referral source, asking them what questions do their clients have, and then going back to them with information that answers those questions, you're going to push that relationship a lot further than if you just went in there trying to sell rather than serve as that advisor.
Yeah, and what I would add to that is that it helps your salespeople be much more effective because they're able to take different materials into those professional referral sources rather than just, again, stopping in with a business card or a brochure. One example is that we had a salesperson at Cantata, and she would ask our referral sources what kinds of questions did they get asked by clients. And in doing that, she found that the referral sources had quite a few questions from clients that they didn't feel like they were experts on or had the qualifications to answer. So then when we brought them branded materials that could answer those questions, they were very grateful to receive that. It helped them do their job better.
Thank you both for that input. I think one of the things that, and I have a slide on this a little later, but that is unfortunately true, whether it's in professional referrals or family members, is this inability to really understand the system. We have a very convoluted system of healthcare delivery in America, and with the silos of service and the way that we've created the reimbursement mechanisms, it does make it very hard for people to really understand what's in the best interest of the client. So what you really do want is that client to be in that least restrictive setting as possible, but one that they can afford. And I think everyone knows that most people want to remain at home, but those professional referral sources need to know how to accomplish that. So if you can help them, as Marissa and Amy have both said, with advising on what is in the best interest of their client, that's also going to work towards enhancing your reputation. But again, back to that quality service. So let's talk about how to build a reputation. And I think this, Amy, I'm going to let you talk about this because you're so good at branding and so good at differentiation. Do you want to talk about this a little while?
Sure. Well, I think building a reputation comes first from delivering quality services. But it also comes from understanding who your company is and how you're different. There are a lot of services in the marketplace today, and so it doesn't make you stand out that you have a service to offer. What makes you stand out is the story behind why you do what you do. And so it's important to know what is your story, first of all. What's the promise that your company makes to customers? And then how do you fulfill that promise on a daily basis with your customers? And do you do that consistently? Does everybody in your company know how to tell that same brand story behind why you do what you do as a company? And then finally, after all of that, does your name and your visual presentation of your company and your tagline all fit with your story, how you're different and why you do what you do? So they go hand in hand. You can't have a beautiful logo and tagline without the meat that goes behind that in delivering on your services in a quality way consistently.
Good. Very, very well spoken. The other thing that is crucial for a private pay business particularly, this would be probably good to learn in any type of reimbursement model, but if you're offering services for which one pays a fee, then customer service is really a reputation enhancer. And this is something that really needs to permeate through the entire organization. It really isn't a one-time event. It has to be ingrained into everyone who has any type of interaction with the customer, whether it's the person answering the phone, the person doing billing and answering those questions, the caregiver in the home, the social worker or nurse who's doing those home visits. So it really is a process that needs to be ingrained in the business, but it comes with not only the attitude. I flew Southwest Airlines home from the NAC conference yesterday, and it's rare on Southwest, but I had a flight attendant who looked unhappy. Now, usually they're very happy and very eager to accommodate you, but it was funny. Just I really wanted to say, you're not upholding the Southwest brand. You need to smile when you give me that bag of peanuts instead of having that dour look on your face. And it did make my flight a little less pleasant than I had someone who was bright and friendly and helpful, as is their standard. But really, in terms of meeting your customer needs, that this being helpful, being responsive, I think that being an advisor and offering resources also follows through to customer service. And then one of the things with handling conflicts and issues, it's just something I always think that people should ask, is asking the customer what they want you to do, because instead of being defensive, I think most people, when presented with a complaint, immediately become defensive, and you really should do the opposite. You should teach your staff to listen, to make certain they understand exactly what the problem is, because sometimes the problem the client is trying to verbalize is not the problem that the employee hears, but then really empowering your staff to know that they can help the customer. And one of the things people always want to do is give away something for free. So say, well, I won't charge you for that day, or I won't charge you for that visit. That may not make any difference at all to the customer. That customer may have a total different need. They may not want the caregiver to come back. They may want an apology. They may want you to send someone else over to do something that someone didn't do correctly, or they may just want to complain.
Yeah, actually, in my experience, what I have found is that most of the time their first answer to what would you like me to do about this is, I want you to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Well, good. And so communicating that is not going to happen again and how you're going to assure that it's not going to happen again is probably crucial in that conflict resolution. Some other things that enhance reputation through customer service, you know, under-promising and over-delivering. That's oftentimes mentioned in How to Run a Business, but there are little tiny things that you can do to make someone feel better and to go over and above what it is that they expected you to do. And it could be just a kind word. It could be a note. It could be recognizing someone on a special anniversary or remembering to bring a treat for their dog. It could be any kind of things, but really that adapting that mentality within your company that you need to go beyond, and we call it a concierge mentality because it really is something that you have to ingrain in your staff and how to be helpful. And Amy, you want to talk about one of your secrets of?
Sure. Ending with an opening. I think this works with pretty much everybody. Your current clients, people that you are potentially going to recruit as clients, referral sources. Anytime that you're closing an interaction with someone, teaching people in your business, all of your staff, that they should end by saying, is there anything else I can do for you? For clients especially, they see how busy caregivers are, and they are not always as forward about saying, there might be something else that I would like you to do. So asking them, is there anything else I can do for you, gives that client the permission and freedom to ask for more, and then you're able to deliver more. The same with a referral source. Once you've brought them something that is a good resource for them, ask them what might be the next thing that they would need and what else you can do for them. People like working with people who want to understand their needs better.
Thank you. I'm going to let you talk about this as well, because this is just a graph that I wanted to show, because most people feel like particularly with home care, for which one pays a fee, that price is such an important component of the decision. And there certainly are people that price is the only thing they're looking for, and if they're price shopping, that's probably not the customer you want to have. But look at this difference in why people are loyal to a brand. Amy, you want to talk about this just a minute?
Sure. Yeah. The way that I would like to talk about this is to ask you to think about, some of the most popular and great brands that are out there. And it really doesn't matter what the product or service is. The things that make brands have that power behind them is not a cool logo or tagline. It's what the brand delivers. And this chart is about what a brand delivers that would make you loyal to that brand. And so as you can see, quality and customer service are the top things that make someone loyal to a brand. That is how those logos and those taglines and slogans that we all know got elevated to the level that they are to become household names, because they were able to deliver on their brand promise that they were making to customers. So it's important to make that distinction. We all love a cool logo and a great slogan, but you have to have the processes and response and consistency and customer service and quality that all goes behind that in order for your brand to gain recognition and reputation.
And I also thought this was an interesting thing to share with you today when we're talking about reputation and branding, because if you'll notice, the first point in this is taking a customer-centric approach to everything. So that just reinforces what I talked about earlier, but also making your processes and communications just easy, that really when you're creating something to start to be efficient, that you make certain that the human element is considered in that. And technology is a wonderful tool to simplify, but you can also, as you are innovating and growing your home care business, I mean, I think one of the things that brings that to mind, and they're not being used that much right now, but the care team portal aspect of running a business, so that if a client or a client's family does want access to information, that the agency allows that, so that the client can see who is scheduled and see the notes that come along from the visits and see what the plan of care is, and also have some idea about who it is that's going into that home. So I think there are some technological innovations in home care that are easy, that actually add to that human experience and that are innovative. And Amy mentioned consistency, but it's not just consistency in the brand, it's consistent delivery of services and consistently good experiences. So every time that customer has an interaction with you, I mean, what's the worst thing that happens? Someone doesn't show for a job when they're scheduled. So handling that with grace and ease and efficiency, and making the client feel comfortable and know that they'll never be left alone, that you will always, be there to take care of them, as that's your job. I think that's one of the things that really goes a long way towards having a good quality service and building a good reputation. The customer experience in home care is really different, and I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, but it is when someone is first presented with the idea that their parent or their spouse needs care, it's oftentimes at an unexpected moment. You thought you had a few days, and all of a sudden you don't. And when you put your spouse or your mother into the hospital for whatever, and you put them in as an ambulatory, clearly thinking, fairly healthy person, and they might come out as really in a state that they need a lot of care. So I mean, that sometimes that awareness of need comes really quickly, but managing that customer experience really is more of a life cycle, and how you provide the services, how you interact with that person who's making an inquiry, how you handle the assessment, how they find you, whether it's your website or whatever, that all of those things, that's in that first point, that awareness of need, and in that consideration in the second point. So the purchase doesn't come in the selection until after they've interacted with you somewhat. So that's why reputation and branding and customer service are so important. Would Amy, do you or Marissa have anything you'd like to say about this slide?
I don't
really think of anything else.
Yeah, I think you've covered it very well.
Okay. Well, again, what I'm trying to build toward here is looking for evangelists. You want people to really refer to you after they've gone through this process, and you want them to remain customers as long as possible. There's always going to be bad apples in in your organization, and what you really have to do is weed them out. But attitude is the number one. I love this cartoon. You can trust our money-back guarantee. Just send back the unused portion of our product, and we'll send back the unused portion of your money. I guarantee you would never buy from that person again. So really the three things that are probably from a marketing standpoint the most important when we're talking about building a reputation and getting referrals from clients and family and getting referrals from professionals is really the branding. We've talked about a little bit, but communicating often and then measuring for results so you know what to do over again and where to spend your money and where you're getting the best return on your investment. I talked a little bit about home care and that first time when someone realizes they need care, but the other thing is it's a very emotionally charged product or service, I guess you could call it. It is very highly personal in nature. There isn't a one-size-fits-all. I mean, just because you took care of a mother who had dementia does not mean that taking care of a father who is cognitively aware but perhaps has COPD or some other issue is going to be the same. Every single scenario is highly personal in nature and different. And it's very time and location sensitive. By that I mean it's not like you could go to the store and get what you want. You have to make that match of the caregiver with the client in the place where the client wants the care, whether, wherever their home is. And sometimes, as you all know, that varies. It might be in their physical residence, it might be an assisted living facility, it might be in the hospital for some duration. So it's very time and location sensitive and changing. And then the other thing is that there's really no way to know when you start home care. And there are some predictors, obviously. If someone has a dementia, the care is going to always increase until they die. But you really don't know oftentimes how long someone's going to need care. Client A may need care after a hospitalization for just a day or two. Client B may need care for 3 or 4 weeks after hospitalization. So, and the same with type of care. If you have a compliant client who wants to get better, then that care is going to be different than someone who's depressed, doesn't want to be compliant, and is refusing to help themselves. So, it really is a product that doesn't have a one-size-fits-all solution. And then in this scenario, you really do have to pay for care if you're obviously going for private pay, but you also, because of our referral environment I've talked about, you really have to have the initiative to figure out what's the best kind of care, and then you really have to, maybe it's luck, to get referred by someone who really does know what to do. So what I'm hoping changes in our healthcare delivery system is that there's more standardization of what type of care someone might need, and some way to determine for the professional referral sources and for families of what's the best place to go to get that care. But right now, you all can do this. So if you are marketing yourself correctly, then you can be found, whether it is the consumer looking for the service that their loved one needs, or whether it's the referral source looking. If you are marketing correctly, then you can be found, you can serve to advise them what to do, and you can serve as a resource for them, so to help in those decisions. Branding is really made in the mind. It is really something that is that combination of reputation and visual and messaging, and it does take a long time to do. And when you're building your brand, you really are dependent on developing an effective communication strategy. You have to be consistent in a lot of different medias and over time, and you really do have to communicate whatever you're saying verbally has to be followed up with that visual. It is not an easy thing to do, but it is something that does go hand in hand with building your reputation, and hand in hand with getting people to understand what services you're offering and why they should choose your agency over another agency.
Mm-hmm. And what I would add to that last bullet point is that you really your employees need to understand what your brand is about, what the promise is that you make to your customers. Studies show that people want to get behind and work for a company that has a great mission. And so, you should be sharing that with them in a consistent and easy way that they can share that with customers.
This is just some simple tips about branding. It's very interesting. We will occasionally get clients whose logos are awful looking. They were designed by a nephew or a someone not professional. The concept of the logo might be good, but the design itself is not good. And we tried to convince our clients that they really do need to have a professional logo. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But that anything that you are sending out should look professional, have a feeling of quality about it, and you really ought to focus it in on one look and feel. And having someone who really is a professional service that understands graphic design and understands messaging. To me, obviously, I'm running a business that does that, but it is crucial, and it does make such a big difference. But that consistency of using one look and feel and using it across everything that you do, and really testing to make certain that it's working, and getting it out as oftentimes as possible and in as many ways as possible, that is really crucial to branding. It also helps with reputation building as you're building your brand. So it really is, but you have to have a marketing strategy, and you have to follow that strategy up with using the right messages to the right target markets. You have to think about how you best reach those markets, and then how you visually present yourself and your business. One of the things that particularly in website engagement that I would like to mention is that there's a lot of measurements that go on about how many people are coming to the website, and the important thing, whether they're coming to your website or whether they're calling you or whether they're communicating with you by email, what you're looking to do in marketing is to get the people who want to buy your service connected with you. So it really doesn't matter if you have a whole lot of people who are calling you if they can't afford your service, or if they don't understand the service, or if they're not appropriate, then they're maybe not in the geographic location that you serve. That really doesn't matter. So having a strategy, branding it, and focusing on what's going to actually drive business, that's the whole key, and that's what marketing and someone who understands marketing can bring to the agency, is that helping you understand where you should be focusing your time and energy.
Marilee, I would add just a couple of other things. And one is that if you are working hard to build quality into your agency from a customer service and service delivery standpoint, people will notice if your communications are not branded with that same high level of quality. We are in a very, very visual society, and people notice right away when the visuals don't look right, or aren't arranged in the right way, if the message just isn't crafted well. They will notice those kinds of things. So it's about making the quality of your service delivery match how your brand is executed.
Excuse me, yes. And there's lots of ways you can communicate, and all of these are marketing communications. So anything that the potential customer, referral source, anyone who is interested in your business, anything that they see is really an example of marketing communication. So and I mean, it goes from when you are personally out networking in the community, to when you're sponsoring an event, to any type of direct email or mail that you do, or to your website. So when someone is interfacing with your agency, interacting with your agency, then that's an example of marketing communications. And this is also a good list of what you should be doing in terms of the mix, because there's a lot of different ways to take your message to market. And you really do need to use as many of those as you can afford, but again, strategically and targeted, because you don't want to waste your money, but anything that you do should be branded. And here's just another way to look at this. There's lots of different channels, we call them in marketing, that you can use to get your message out, and they all need to be branded and they all need to be consistent. And you do need to use probably as many of these as you can afford to, but again, weighted with how you're using them based on how your customers are responding and how the best customers are responding.
I think a lot of agencies get stuck merely on one or two of those channels. They put all of their efforts or all of their eggs into one or two baskets, when in reality, referral sources and consumers respond differently to different media. So if you're just doing advertising, you're going to be missing a huge boatload of people who may be looking for you on social media or trying to find you on the web. Or some of these referral sources you can't even get in to visit, but you can give them a presentation that's educational in nature, and that's going to be the way that you're going to reach into them. So mixing up those channels, using different types, and then of course measuring to see which efforts are bringing you good results, and then doing more of that specific type of effort is very important.
That's excellent points, Marissa. And I think I don't have a particular slide in the slide deck about measurement, but that is one of the areas that we find that home care agencies do the worst job of, and that is simply asking people when they call, so where is it that you heard about us? And that one simple thing can help you put more money into an area where you are getting the right kind of clients. So I'll go a little further and say it's not just where did you hear about us, but then looking at that data down the road and seeing I may have gotten 15 referrals from the local discharge planner at the hospital, but none of those turned into admissions. However, I got 5 referrals from the local geriatric care manager, and every one of those is now a client. So I think if you really take that data, measure it, and look at it, you can see what is working. We're seeing more and more agencies have inquiries come through their website. That's something that's really changed in the last few years, and now from social media. So the marketing is not static, and how people find you is not static, and how people make that initial connection is not static. It really does change over time. I talked a little bit about this, about selling home care and how it is different. The unexpected times is the biggest thing, that it really does sometimes really catch people off guard. I mean, it's really funny. I've been in home care 34 years, but the last, 16 of it has been in marketing, not in direct service provision. I still get calls from people who thought they had everything under control, and all of a sudden, mom falls and she was taking care of dad, and now they're totally without caregivers. And this goes back to reinforce what I said earlier, is not knowing who to call. People will call me. Now, oddly enough, I don't refer anymore to local agencies because I really don't know the quality of the agencies in Louisville. I will give them some people that I do know of and say you really need, though, to check and make your own decision about this. But another reinforcing for that part is everything I'm talking about in terms of building reputation and branding and all of the things that we say that you need to do for marketing communications, I actually did for the 17 years I had my home care business. And the fact that people are still calling me 16 years later, I think is a very good testimony to the fact that all that works. The other thing is that home care actually oftentimes is not totally understood. I mean, if you think about it, if you've never had home care or never used home care, you don't know how it works. We used to laugh that the clients would think, and I heard someone recently at the HCAOA conference say the client calls and they think I have a room full of caregivers and I'm going down the line and saying, oh, meeny, miny, mo, which one am I going to pick to go to this client? As opposed to, as you all know, the opposite of that is actually true. So what actually it is might not be understood. Do they have to pay for it is something that oftentimes really shocks people. Most people still think Medicare is going to cover everything. And then if there is an eligibility question, if they are from a low-income family or if they are eligible for Medicare services, they really have questions about all that and don't know who to go to. So Marissa, that reinforces your being a resource and being an advisor.
Right, right. And if you look at all of these points together, they're all about answering questions for people. So you can design your blogs and your e-newsletters about making this information able to answer those questions for potential clients and for referral sources, and also in a way that's easy for them to share with other people who are in their situation.
Yeah, I think we hear a lot of questions all the time of how do I get past the gatekeeper? And if you turn your agency from always selling into being that advisor and being helpful, suddenly you're going to get past those gatekeepers because it's a much more easy way for them to welcome you in. They don't shut down. They open up because you're going to be helping them with their problems. It's a win-win situation.
Well, we've actually, I mentioned our MOST program earlier, we've done a lot of email newsletters and using those tactics for our clients of serving as resources, and we have had very hard to break into hospital systems actually ask if they could send that newsletter to all of the people in their either their nurse coordinators or their discharge planners because the information was so good. So that's a prime example of turning being a resource and having the referral sources be very, very happy.
Yeah, I mean, when is it that doctors' offices call your agency to say, can you bring some more of those brochures? We're out. And we have clients that get that because they are serving as an advisor, and it does work.
And for building those customer evangelists, though, really is, I'm just going to reinforce some of this, but it really is communicating with them often and asking them what they want and asking them what is it you can do for them that will make their job easier. And if they want to be a part of the care team and they want to know what happened to Mrs. Smith that they referred to you, then you certainly should complete that loop and make certain that you are communicating with them on a regular basis. And if they want to be involved in the care team, include them in the care team. Make certain that they're involved in the care. And then if you want them to refer, make it very easy for them to do so. Don't make it complicated, and obviously make certain that you're complying with HIPAA regulations, but you do need to make it easy. And make certain you also, by rewarding them, I don't necessarily mean giving them something of value, but make certain that you send a personal note to them. And again, another opportunity for a branded touch point is a personal note, but thank them when they refer. And really all you have to say on that note is thank you very much for your referral. Mrs. Smith is now happy in our care and and looking much better, gotten her some color back. You can go on, or you can just say thank you very much for your referral. Ms. Smith is in good hands. So just goes a little bit towards building that customer evangelist even from a professional referral source. This communication that makes their job easier, that they can pass on to their customer base. Marissa, because she works with the MOST program, works with this a whole lot and knows that there's a lot of information that people need to know. So, and it can be specific to the specific kind of illness or disease or frailty that they have. And if you are wise enough to actually help in a lot of those different areas, then you're gonna build some referral source evangelists from a lot of different areas.
Yeah, and sometimes they can also be broader topics like how to know when an aging parent needs help or home care, how to manage care from a distance if maybe an attorney is working with an adult child who's out of state and from their parent. So I don't know, Marissa, do you have other examples of pieces that we have done for?
Well, Alzheimer's, of course, is a huge topic, and there's so many questions. There's so much education that still needs to go out regarding how to care for somebody with Alzheimer's, especially as more people realize that there is a possibility of keeping mom or dad home. They don't with Alzheimer's, that there are care options available. How do you communicate with somebody with Alzheimer's? How do you deal with sundowning? All of these types of questions that you can serve as an advisor and as a resource. And then, if somebody doesn't have a care need at that moment, a lot of people are still interested in that information because maybe they had a grandparent who died of Alzheimer's, and it's something that's always on their mind. Then when there is a care need, they'll remember you as a resource and come to you.
Right. So the whole point here is that instead of bringing your referral sources a brochure with your name on it, you're going to bring them an educational piece with your name on it that helps them give their clients real information that they can use. So that makes them look better and helps them help their clients better.
It's a bit of a mental shift because I think the natural tendency that we want to do when we're trying to push our agencies is to sell. It's a lot more comfortable. Your salespeople will love it because it's an easy way to sell because you are presenting information that's helpful. But it's also a way that's going to differentiate you from competitors who are all trying to just sell.
Yeah, I would say it helps salespeople definitely be more enthusiastic about going back to clients or to referral sources quarterly because they've got something new to bring. Part of their what they're thinking about when they're going back to referral sources is what am I going to say this time or bring this time that I didn't bring last time. It definitely gives them more ease going back to know that they've got something fresh to offer that's going to help that referral source.
And using strategic sales processes, but offering the education, resource, and advising is really that combination is what works best. I was going to throw into supporting the industry. Being a member of a disease association or sponsoring a walk or supporting the industry, if you have a referral source group that you're trying to break into, if you get involved in an industry that they're interested in, then that also allows you to network with them. It puts your name in front of people, and it really does help solidify that relationship as well. So we're not talking that much about sponsorship, but that really is something that works. I just wanted to talk about referral targets within the industry, and I think there's lots of referral targets within the healthcare continuum. Most people focus on just one, but sometimes you can make relationships and get referral targets in other areas outside of where you specifically have focused. But if you are an agency in private pay, there's a lot of other referral targets you can get. And go back to when I first said if you look at where you're getting the referral and how much revenue is generated by that referral and what is the length of stay of the client who's been referred, if you do some research on that and you measure that, you may find out that you can spend some time and make relationships with some of these other referral targets that will turn into far better long-term client relationships and far better professional referral relationships. So I'm sure there's more here, but this is really just an idea, a spattering of places that oftentimes people don't think about going and these are great places to do presentations and things like, how do you select home care and when is home care appropriate? Some more general things, not just selling what the not just selling what your agency is doing. Marissa, I'm going to let you or Amy talk about this one.
Sure. We've talked about this a little bit, but it certainly bears repeating on, how do you grow those relationships with the referral sources, and because they aren't going to immediately refer to you until they feel comfortable. And one of the ways that you are going to get them to feel comfortable is by showing that you know the answers to their clients' questions. It shows that you know the business, and they start to believe that your care is also going to be knowledgeable and good quality as well. And that gives you instant credibility. A lot of referral sources, they say, well, I can't hand out your brochure because I have to give this list of all of the agencies in the area. I'm required to hand that out. But if your material is advising or answering their clients' questions, suddenly you circumvent that whole issue because they feel comfortable handing that out. They don't feel that it's a sales brochure anymore. However, your branding and your phone number and everything is on that, so it's a bit of a soft referral. So it feels to the customer like they are referring to your agency, and they will give you a call when there's a care need.
Thank you for that. So this is sort of a wrap-up. How do you do it? We've talked about this a lot. You really are serving as a resource and an advisor, and then you are massaging and growing and maintaining those relationships. And what you really want is for people to refer to you and think of you first when they have a care need, or clients that have a care need. So we're going to take some questions now, but I think that making a plan is really what you need to do. We talk about marketing plans, and we certainly do a lot of those, but you need to ask yourself, in 5 years, where is it that I want my agency to be? How big do I want it to be? What geographic areas do I want it to serve? What types of clients do I want? And then look at what you're currently doing and ask, what is it that needs to change in order to accomplish that? And what needs to remain the same. And I think that will really help you with the plan. And again, I don't have a slide deck on measuring, but if you've got a benchmark, if you've benchmarked how many referrals you're getting from referral sources, how are those translating into dollars, and the same with all of your referral sources, all of your client referrals, so that you're benchmarking and you can see, am I making progress, and what am I going to do to grow that segment of the business that's going to bring me the most profitability and the most satisfaction in doing your job. We're going to take some questions now. I did get a question from someone earlier. Whoops, goodness gracious. I did get a question from someone earlier about, was this PowerPoint presentation going to be available? We do not send out our PowerPoint presentations. What we do, however, is we have recorded this, and we will post this on the Core Cubed website under our events page, so you can certainly, and that should happen in a couple of hours, so anyone can go in then and look at that, and you can share that with your whole staff. So I'm glad that you liked it enough that you want to share it. And we have another question here. How long is too long when trying to maintain the quality of the service and scheduling the start date with a new caregiver? How long is too long? Goodness, I'm not certain I understand that. I think maybe what someone is saying is you might not have a caregiver who is available to go to a client at the time the client wants the service to start. And I think that you should always be recruiting, and you should have really good people available to go to a job. And if you are not going to staff that with someone who's going to be a long-term caregiver, you can at least start the care when they need it. The client should be the one who determines when care is needed. So if they need it really quickly, you ought to be able to handle that. But again, with a good caregiver. So that would be my suggestion, is that you need to do more recruitment to have more caregivers ready to go for work. So, and the question is, would it be better to pass on the client if you cannot staff it? Definitely. You definitely need to have a referral relationship with other home care agencies, so if you don't have caregivers, that you are solving that client's problem. Now, the second thing is you really need to look at your recruitment and your retention and find out why you were not able to staff that, so you can work on that, because a quality agency is going to have a process in place to pull in caregivers when needed, when you have those influx of requests for service. So but pass it on. The goal here, again, is keeping that client in the least restrictive setting. Safety and security are a given, and if you can't provide that, then make certain that they do get that from someone else. So we are at the end of our time here, actually a couple minutes over, but we started a couple of minutes late. So I want to thank everyone for attending today, and again, you can see this presentation very soon on our Core Cubed events page, along with other presentations we've done in the past. I thank you very much. If you have any questions, please contact us. Feel free to call or email. And we are focused specifically on the aging care industry with our sweet spot in home care. So we hope to hear from you all in the future. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa, and thank you, Amy.